I built this fully automated AI legal assistant using just Lovable and n8n. All you have to do is fill out a simple form with your legal question and select your country. And then the app will automatically start searching the official government websites for documents that are relevant to your specific question. It then scrapes all of these documents using Firecrawl, formats a proper response, and sends it back in our Lovable interface via webhook. And all that in less than 10 seconds, making it faster and more accurate than the world's best lawyers. The best part, it's completely free to get started with, and you can realistically sell it to law firms for thousands of dollars each, since it actually saves them massive amounts of time of doing all of the research themselves. So in this video I will show you how you can build this app step by step while explaining my full thought process behind everything that I do. So let's get started. So the first thing we actually have to do is to build in our front-end interface in Lovable. So to do that, I will come over here and type, I want to create an app that is a legal AI assistant. The user will reset two things. One will be the legal question he has, and the other one will be him being able to search for his country by drop-down menu. Once he fills this information in, you will send both of these two values separately in a webhook URL I'm going to give you later on, so I can create the backend automation of this app in n8n. Now the design should be dark, modern, and very clean. It should mimic the image I attached, just in the design though. Don't add any extra features. And now guys, what I actually did is I went over to Google, searched for nice looking UI apps, and I found this one that I really like. So all I will do is simply come over here, download it, and come back over to Lovable and simply upload it over here and click on enter. And now guys, the reason I actually did that is that Lovable actually has a visual example of how I want the app to look like. So it is way easier for it to actually create a very nice looking UI. But now as Lovable is building our app for us, let's actually start building the backend automation in n8n. So we'll come over to n8n and I will simply come over here and click on create workflow. And now it's time we add in our first node. So we'll come over here and click on the plus and I will search for webhook. And why are we using a webhook guys? Because a webhook actually serves as the connector between our frontend interface in Lovable and the backend automation we're going to build in n8n. So think of this specific link over here, which is the webhook link, as a chain that connects these two together. So what we actually have to do now is to come over here in the HTTP method and change it from get to post. And why we're doing that is because we're going to send a post request and not a get request. Because if we actually send in a get request, we will not actually be able to take all the data from Lovable and bring it back into n8n. And that's why we're selecting post over here. And now that we simply selected this, the only thing we have to do is to simply come over here to this link, click on it to copy in our clipboard, and then come back over to Lovable, which as you can see has finished creating this app, which actually has the exact sections we want as well over here, as you can see. But we definitely can improve the way this looks, and I will do so in a bit. But let's first come over here and say, this is the webhook URL from n8n that is sending a post request, and I will simply paste the link we just copied over here. I actually specified the post request to let Lovable know what kind of request this actually is. And now I will actually prompt it to improve the way this looks a little bit, because it's not exactly what we wanted at the start. So I will come over here and say, make it look better and more modern. Give it a nice, bright, vibrant purple background. And I will simply click on enter. And now what Lovable will actually do is integrate the webhook URL we just gave it within the app, so we can actually send all the data back to n8n, and also improve the visual interface of our app. And why I did that in the same prompt guys is simply because I want to save as many tokens as I want, so I don't have to send two different messages and waste double the tokens basically. So I will be back with you once it's done. And boom guys, Lovable just finished making the changes, and I gotta admit it looks much better now. We can obviously improve it further if we actually want. I think it is pretty good for now, but let's actually test if the webhook URL works and we're actually able to send data back into n8n. I will simply come over here and ask a question. What are the limits for the tax brackets? And I will come over here and simply select my country as well, and since I'm from Greece I will select Greece. But before I click on get legal advice guys, what's very important is we actually go back over to n8n and make sure I come over here and click on listen for test event. So our webhook actually expects data to come over from Lovable, because if we don't actually click this, it will not be able to receive the data from Lovable. So now that I click that, I will come back over to Lovable over here and click on get legal advice. And as you can see, your legal question has been submitted successfully. And if I come back over to n8n, you can see over here in the output we actually have data, which means that our webhook successfully managed to get data from a Lovable interface. And if we scroll all the way down here, guys, in the body parameters, we can see over here the question, which is the exact question that we asked, and over here the country, which is the exact country that we selected, which is exactly what we wanted. So now I will simply come over here and pin this data, and the reason I'm pinning this data is to make it semi-permanent, so we don't actually have to do this whole process every single time, so we can test the next steps of our workflow. So I make this data semi-permanent until I actually click over here to unpin it, to simply make the process of testing the workflow significantly easier. So now it's time we add in our next module. So I will come and click off here. And now what we actually need to add, guys, an OpenAI node, specifically a message model node. And why are we actually doing this? Well, with this node, I actually want to give it the question that we just asked and the country that we just inserted in our Lovable interface, and actually tell it to search the web and give us official government websites in which we will be able to find relevant information about the question we just asked. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So the first thing that we need to do, obviously, is connect our credentials. Now, if you already have connected them, you simply select them and you're good to go. But if you haven't yet connected them, I will show you how to do it. Literally takes like 30 seconds. So you simply come over here, click on create new credential. And as you can see over here, we need to insert an API key. Well, how are we gonna get this API key? Well, you have to come over to platform/OpenAI/API keys. I will leave a link for it in the description below. And the only thing you have to do is to simply come over here where it says create new secret key, click on top of it, give it a name. I will say, for example, n8n test. And I will simply come over here, click on create new secret key, and boom, we have our new secret key. We simply come over here and click on copy, and make sure you never share your API keys with anyone, guys. Treat them as passwords. I will delete mine before uploading this video. Then come back over to n8n and simply paste this key over here, and then come over here and click on save. And boom, as you can see, we successfully connected our API key. So now we'll come over here, click on X, and now we'll leave resource on text, since we actually want to send in a text message to ChatGPT. Then operation, we will leave it on message model again because we want to send a message. And now, guys, over here, this is the most important part of the whole automation. We actually need to select the model that is actually going to search the websites. And that's super important, guys. Make sure you don't select any of these models over here. And why not select this? Well, simply because they don't actually have access to websites, and they cannot actually give you relevant government links to which you will be able to find the information you actually need. They will give you outdated links that are just simply not gonna work and give you errors. So what you have to do is to simply scroll all the way down here, guys, to where you see these models over here, where you can see GPT-4o mini search. So make sure any model you pick, it has the word search next to it, so it is actually able to live search the web and give you an actual working link. That's super important. So I will select this one, for example, GPT-4o mini search, and over here we actually need to give it a prompt. So I will type search the web and give me an answer to my question for that specific country. Also give me a link to your source for this answer. Make sure you only give official government websites and nothing else as your response. And over here, guys, all we have to do to where you see I wrote my question is simply scroll all the way down here to find the actual schema which actually has our question inside it. Simply take it, simply drag and drop it over here, and then we're gonna do the exact same with my country over here. So we'll come over here, select country, and simply drag and drop it over here. Now you might ask why I also told it to give me an answer. It actually tends to give more relevant links where you actually tell it to give you an answer as well, because I tested this and I found that to be true. So make sure you say that as well. It really does not hurt you at all. So now that we're done with this prompt, let's actually test to see if it actually works. So I will come and click off here and simply come over here and click on execute step. So right now ChatGPT is actually searching the web to find relevant links and give us a response. As you can see, it actually gave us a response over here, and it also gave us the URL over here to where it actually found the response. And if we actually copy this link to actually test if it's from an official government website, and I come over here and paste it in, as you can actually see, like, you might not be able to understand Greek, but it is actually from the official government website of Greece. And over here it has all the information we actually need, which is simply amazing. So we have successfully managed to locate the link we actually want, but now what we actually want to do is to scrape the full information in order for us to be able to return it. But now some of you might ask, well, why does it not return the answer we already have over here, which ChatGPT actually search the web for? Well, that is simply because ChatGPT can actually search for the links, but some government websites actually don't have their answers inside the website themselves. They have actual PDFs or other documents inside the websites which you actually need to download to find the answer. So that's why we're going to scrape all these websites to also get all the information inside these different PDFs and other documents, so we can have a 100% correct response. Because in our case over here, it did have our answer in the website, but in another country or for another matter, actually be inside a PDF in which ChatGPT will not actually be able to get access to. So that's why you actually have to scrape the website to actually get the correct response 100% of the time. So now let's actually create the node that is going to scrape the specific website we actually want. I will simply come over here, click on the plus icon and search for an HTTP request. Now the reason why I actually get an HTTP request is because it's the only actual way to scrape websites, either within this module or by using a third-party API, which is what we're going to do in this video. And we're going to do that because it simply returns the data in a way simpler format that we can actually understand, rather than us using the HTTP request natively inside n8n, which actually tends to return data pretty confusing. So in order to make our life easier, we're going to use a third-party API, which is none other than firecrawl.dev, which, as you can see here, it literally says turn websites into LLM-ready data. So this is exactly its purpose. So in order to actually use it, the only thing we have to do is to simply come over here and create an account. I just created my account with Google. It's a super simple process, literally takes you like 10 seconds to do so. After you create your account, you will be brought over here in the Firecrawl interface. Now the first thing you have to do is to simply come over here to where it says docs and simply click on it. And now we're brought over here in this tab. Don't get scared, guys. This might look confusing, but it's actually super simple. We literally have to do like 3 clicks and we're good to go. So now what you have to do is to simply come over here to where it says standard features and simply click on scrape, since we actually want to scrape a website to get all of the information we actually need. And now what we actually need to do, guys, is to come over here and click on JSON mode. And why we're doing that? Well, simply we're doing that so we can actually take all the JSON code, which don't worry, you're not gonna write any code, we just simply copy and paste, and give it in an HTTP request so it actually imports all the needed settings for us. And you will see what I mean in a bit. So all you have to do, guys, is if this is clicked on Python or Node, you simply come over here and click on CURL. And the magic with this over here is you simply come over here, click on the copy button, and now we copied all this code successfully. And now, guys, all we have to do, we come back over to n8n in our HTTP request, and we simply come over here to where it says import CURL, and we simply paste in all the code we copied, and we simply come over here and click on import. And what this actually did, guys, it imported all the settings we actually need to use Firecrawl AI fully autonomously, so we don't actually have to configure anything. Well, we do have to configure 1 or 2 things, but like it actually did the vast majority of the configuration for us, which is simply amazing. Now what we actually have to do, guys, is over here in the headers parameters, you can see in the value section we have better, and over here it says your API key. What we actually have to do, guys, is to actually input our own API key over here. So how we're gonna get our API key? Well, it's pretty simple. We simply come back over to Firecrawl's interface and we simply come over here and click on API keys. And over here you have the option to create a new API key. So click on that. Here you give it a name. I will name it my key, for example, and click on create, and boom, our API key was successfully created. So now all you have to do is to simply come on your new key that you just created and click on copy, and then come back over to n8n, again over here in the value where it says better your API key. Delete the your API key part, but make sure you actually leave in a space over here, so better space, and then you paste in your API key you just copied. And that's literally all you have to do. So now we have successfully imported our API key as well, and now we actually need to tell Firecrawl exactly what information we wanted to scrape. So in order to do that, we'll have to come over here in the JSON code and simply come over here, click on expression, and actually come over here and click on this little arrow over here to actually make this in a bigger tab so we can actually see what we're doing. And I know a lot of you might say, oh, this is code, I'm not technical, this is super hard to do. Guys, it's literally super simple. Literally 2 things we need to do, which are actually very obvious. So think about it. What information do we actually need to give Firecrawl? Well, we actually need to give it the URL, ChatGPT just gave us. And also we need to give it what we're actually looking for in this URL, which is basically the question we initially asked. All we have to do, guys, over here you see URL. What we're going to do with this URL, where it has a dummy URL over here, we simply come over here, delete this one, and simply come over here to the left. Make sure we actually look at all the OpenAI schemas over here. And what we actually do is scroll all the way down till we actually find the parameter URL, which actually has the URL OpenAI just gave us, and simply come copy this URL and paste it over here in the place of the previous link we just deleted. We told Firecrawl which actual link we wanted to scrape. Now what we actually have to do is to tell it what exactly we want to find out from this specific link. Well, how we gonna do that? It's pretty simple again. We simply have to come over here to where you see properties over here, and if you can see inside properties there is this value which right now says company mission. But this is obviously dummy data. We don't actually want to find out the company mission. We want to find out what are the tax rates in Greece. So how we're gonna do that? We will simply delete this fake dummy data value. And what we're going to do is scroll all the way down here to where we see the webhook. Because remember, that's where we actually have our initial question stored. We're gonna click on open so we actually see all the values inside it. We're going to scroll until we actually found the question we initially asked, which is over here, and we're actually going to take it and literally just put it inside the place we just deleted the previous value. So I'll just leave it over here and boom. That's literally all we had to do is inside this very complicated code interface like everyone seems to be so scared of. So now we're literally done with this. We simply come over here, click off of it, and let's actually test if this actually works. So I'll come over here, click on execute step, and now what is actually happening is Firecrawl is scraping the link we just gave it and is actively looking for the specific information we want to find out. So now we'll see what information it will actually return. And boom, it just finished scraping. And if we come all the way down here to the JSON body, and we see over here we have our question, which is a schema now, and over here we literally have our answer, exactly as we wanted. And remember, we're using Firecrawl because it actually is able to scrape PDFs and other documents that are embedded in the website as well, while ChatGPT is unable to. That's why we're using it. So now we can do two things: either return this value just like it is back in our app's interface, which is fine, but sometimes even Firecrawl might give you an answer that is not perfectly formatted in human-like language, so we can actually return it to a human. So ideally we give it to another AI model to tell it to format it a little bit better, so we're certain every answer we actually give is perfectly formatted and correct in human-like language. So let's actually do that. So we'll come and click off here, but we're not going to add in another AI model just yet. We're actually going to go over here, click on the plus icon and search for information extractor. And guys, why we're using this node is very simple, and that is because if we scroll all the way down here again to where we actually have what we want to give to our AI model, we can see that while this response is perfectly fine and good, over here we have a problem, which is the value, which is how we're actually gonna be able to drag and drop it inside the AI model, has the name of our question. Which what that actually means, guys, if we actually ask a different question, this name is going to change. So what we actually cannot do is simply take this, drag and drop this into an AI model. Why? Because simply this is not going to be the same if we ask a different question. So for example, if we asked what is the blood alcohol level, it would actually be called what is the blood alcohol level, which means we can actually drag and drop this because it simply constantly changes. And that's exactly why we're actually adding this node, which is information extractor, which what we're actually going to say to it is the following: my question is this. And what we'll actually do is come over here to our webhook again, scroll all the way down to where we have a question, simply drag and drop this over here. So we give it our action question, then we're going to say over here, the answer is inside this, and we'll simply go over here, go over to HTTP request to where we actually have our answer that we actually got from scraping the website, and we'll simply come and take the JSON value, guys, this time, and simply drag and drop this over here. And now you might say, oh, can we not just do this on the OpenAI node, for example? No, we actually cannot, because the OpenAI node cannot simply extract all the data over here that is inside this JSON file, while with the information extractor node we can actually extract it. Now why can it not do that? I simply have no idea, guys. You should ask and retain that honestly, but it actually cannot read the data that is inside here, so that's why we're using this node. And then I will simply say extract the answer to my question, and only that, so we don't actually get any extra values that we don't actually need. So now that we did that, let's click off here, let's simply come down here and add in an AI model. If we don't actually add one, it will not work. So we'll come over here, search again for OpenAI chat model. I will select GPT-4 mini. It's really not that relevant which one you select. Let's actually test to see if this actually works. And now guys, after wiring the model, what we actually need to do, and I almost forgot to do it, is to actually come over here in the attributes, simply click on add attribute. We simply need to name the schema we actually want to extract. So what I would say is, for example, answer is not really important how you name it. Then in the description, I wrote extract the answer to my question, because that's exactly what I wanted to do. And I will simply come over here, click on execute step, and boom guys, as you can see, we have the exact response that we got from over here, and we actually formatted in more human-like text, because if you remember, we actually did use an AI model here, which actually means we don't have to add in an extra node to actually revise it even further, because we literally revised it inside this node. And if you guys see over here, our schema is called answer, and this is not going to change no matter what our question is. So we have successfully managed to find a workaround around this problem that we would otherwise have. So now that we have our answer and we have our perfectly formatted text, all we have to do is to simply return it back on our Lovable interface. So how we're going to do that? We will simply come and click off here, and we'll come and click on the plus node and search for respond to webhook node. And now guys, what this node actually does is allows us to take the schema over here, which has our actual answer, and send it back in a Lovable interface, so we can actually display it over there. So how we're actually going to do that is we're gonna come over here and change this from first incoming item to, we're gonna scroll all the way down here to text. So we're gonna respond with a simple text body, and all we will do is simply come over here, take the schema that we actually have over here, which has our answer inside it, simply drag and drop this over here, and that's literally all we have to do. But before we're actually able to test if this actually works, we have to do one more thing, which is to simply come and click off this module completely and come back into our initial webhook node, and we're gonna have to go over here to where it says respond and change this from immediately to using respond to webhook node, because if we don't actually change this, we will not be able to send in the data back to Lovable. Now, why is this option inside the webhook node and not inside the respond to webhook node? I have absolutely no idea guys, but that's how it is, so make sure you select it, and then you simply come and click off here. We go back to our respond to webhook node, and now it's time we actually test to see if we're actually able to send the data back to Lovable. All I will do is simply come over here and click on execute step, and boom, as you can see, we actually successfully have an output, which means that we actually sent all this data back into Lovable. So let's go and check if this actually worked. But guys, if we come back over to Lovable, you can see there is no section in which we are actually able to see the response that we got. And that is perfectly normal and should be expected, because we did not actually tell Lovable that it needs to expect data and actually be able to display it inside our app. So to actually fix that, we'll come over here and type, I'm going to send you back information for every question I ask with a respond to webhook node. So make sure you're able to receive this information and actually create a section in which you can actually display it. And I'll simply click on enter. And now what Lovable will do is actually create a brand new section in which will actually display the answer we just sent from n8n. Alright, so now it supposedly actually fixed the issue. So let's actually fully test the app to see if it works from start to end. So I will first come back to n8n and unpin all the data actually pinned, so we actually can run this full workflow, and click on execute workflow so it actually expects data to come in. Now, if we actually do not want to have to come back over to n8n and click on that every time, what we need to do is to simply come over here and click on activate this workflow, which will actually make it active to the cloud, so we don't actually constantly have to come over here and click on activate every time. So now we'll come back over to Lovable. I will ask a different question this time. What are the requirements for citizenship? And over here I will select my country. Again, I will select Greece, and I will simply click on get legal assistance. And now we see our automation in n8n is actually running. Right now it's actually scraping all the data with Firecrawl, and boom guys, if I come back over to Lovable, over here you can see the question that I asked and the country that I inserted, and over here I can see my legal advice, which is to acquire green citizenship, only one typical, etc, etc. But you can see that we actually successfully returned the information we actually scraped from an official government website with our n8n automation back into Lovable, and we can actually display it over here so people can actually read it, which is simply amazing, because this is like 100% correct information, because we actually got it from official government websites, and we did not just rely on the AI's training data to actually get it, which when it comes to legal matters, multiple times it's outdated and simply incorrect. And now we can actually improve this app even further. We can actually store all the questions over here inside the database so the user can have access to them whenever he wants. For that, we would actually use Supabase over here to Lovable, and we could even add in more features and actually turn it into a full-on AI SaaS, which is exactly what I show you how to do inside my brand new school community, which we actually just launched, and we already have more than 100 members. And I just launched as well a full AI SaaS roadmap course in which I go over everything: how to find the correct idea, what strategy you should use, how to actually build your full-on AI SaaS, all the ways you can actually market it to get customers in your app, and how you can actually scale it so you can start generating a lot of money from it. So all of that, and also all the n8n templates from all the videos I make, and this video that you just watched specifically, are inside the assets folder over here, which you can simply select the video that you want and simply come over here and download the JSON file and import it into your n8n workflow so you don't actually have to build the full automation. And also I'm about to drop a full n8n course explaining everything that there is about n8n, how to map out automations, what each module does and how does it work. And guys, I explain everything in detail so everyone, even a complete beginner, can easily understand it. So make sure you click the link in the description below and you come and join us in a brand new community. The price right now is just $25 a month, and in 1 week I'm actually going to increase it to $39 per month. So right now if you join, you literally get the best deal you will ever get. The price will never be lower than this. And if you actually join now at 25, you're actually locking the price forever until you actually leave. So make sure you come and join and secure yourself the best possible deal. But also YouTube thinks you're gonna enjoy this video over here, in which I actually built a $1 million app using simply just Lovable and n8n. So make sure you go and watch that next, and I will see you over there.